الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another Revert Reflection. And today I'll be starting a series entitled What We Muslims Believe. And the intention behind this series is to spend some time daily reacquainting ourselves with the basics and essentials of our faith. And why is this important? Why is this a worthy topic of discussion? Well, it's worthy of discussion. It's an important topic. It's something worth tuning in for a number of reasons. So one reason is because, brothers and sisters, the reality of faith is that it increases and decreases. And reminding ourselves of what we believe and why we believe it with supporting evidence will increase our faith. There's a difference between thinking that something is right, hearing from other people that something is right, living in a society or an environment where everybody believes something is right and so you kind of just follow the crowd. There's a difference between that and actually reading it, studying it, seeing it for yourself, and having what they call khabr al-yaqeen or ayn al-yaqeen. Having ilm al-yaqeen, having certain knowledge of it, or ayn al-yaqeen, having the knowledge of what? Actually witnessing it and seeing it for yourself, as opposed to just hearing it from others. Khabr al-yaqeen. Another reason why this topic is important, brothers and sisters, is because faith, its reality is that it wears out. And it is in need of being renewed from time to time. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr, he said, إِنَّ الْإِيمَانَ لَيَدْرُسْ فِي جَوْفِ أَحَدِكُمْ كَمَا يَدْرُسُ الثَّوْبِ فَاسْأَلُوا اللَّهَ أَنْ يُجَدِّدَ الْإِيمَانَ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. He said that indeed faith wears out in the heart of one of you like a garment wears out. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to renew the faith in your hearts. And so it's important for us to make effort to keep our faith fresh, to keep it intact, to keep it from wearing out, or to minimize the wear on our faith. And one of the ways that we can do that, a major part of that renewal process, is revisiting our beliefs from time to time. Another reason why this series is important, brothers and sisters, is because going back to the basics ensures that we understand and practice our faith based upon knowledge and proof rather than custom and assumption. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to have knowledge of what we believe, knowledge of what we practice, and not just to do what everybody else is doing, not just to say what everybody else is saying and believe what everybody else is believing around us and assume that it's right because everybody's saying it, doing it, and believing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. He says, know, have knowledge that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and then seek forgiveness for your sin. He doesn't say guess, he doesn't say assume, he doesn't say just do what everybody else is doing. He says to the believers, he commands them to know. This series is also important, brothers and sisters, because relearning our beliefs with supporting evidence will deepen our understanding of what we believe. And the better we understand, the better we can articulate our beliefs. And the better we can articulate our beliefs, the better that will put us in a position to introduce and explain our beliefs to others when the need arises. And that need arises a lot. We have people that we meet in the street and they ask us about Islam. And some of us are too shy to admit that we don't know, although shame on us for not knowing. And so we just start saying things. We start spitballing. We start just saying something to avoid being embarrassed, rather than being quiet and admitting our ignorance to avoid attributing to Islam and attributing to Allah and His religion that which is not from it. We're in positions where we are parents. We're responsible for the guidance of other human beings, but we lack the knowledge to teach them Islam correctly. And so we end up just teaching them what everybody else around us is doing. We end up teaching them whatever the community does, whatever the society we grew up in or we live in does, customs and traditions that we can't be certain, because we haven't studied, we haven't learned, we can't be certain that they actually are from Islam. And so if we revisit the basics, then we become better able, because of a deeper understanding, to articulate our beliefs to these young people that we're responsible for. Lastly, brothers and sisters, many of us, we have to acknowledge the fact that when we learned Islam, when we learned our faith, we learned it in a very disorganized and random way, a very haphazard way. We learned some things about fiqh, jurisprudence, here and there. And we learned some things about aqidah, what we believe, here and there. And we learned some things about akhlaq, character, here and there, and about marriage, here and there, and about this, here and there. And so basically we've amassed this Swiss cheese body of knowledge of Islam. Some knowledge here, some knowledge there, and holes all over the place. The result is that many of us know a little something about this and that, but we lack a depth of knowledge in the areas that matter the most, the basics. This makes us, brothers and sisters, susceptible, vulnerable to doubts and second guessing what we believe. It also makes us vulnerable to accept certain beliefs and certain ideas and certain ideologies that we don't realize are contradictory to our faith. You have many Muslims supporting what they call the LGBT community. Many Muslims supporting the right to an abortion, and they're upset and in an uproar because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And you have many Muslims supporting certain political candidates and their philosophies and ideas, or the political process in a democratic society. All of these things, we're supporting them, we're in favor of them, we're campaigning in favor of them. We may go out and protest in favor of them without realizing that they contradict the basic beliefs of Islam. We're susceptible to this. Why? Because of the way we learned Islam and a lack of depth and breadth of knowledge as it relates to the basics. So brothers and sisters, learning the basics in a more organized and structured way will protect us from the doubts that undermine true faith and certainty, and from the mistakes that many Muslims make inadvertently due to their lack of knowledge. So I hope and pray, brothers and sisters, that you will come along with us on this journey. I hope that you won't be from those Muslims, and there are quite a few of them, who will say, I don't need the basics. I know the basics. I'm not going to waste my time with the basics. I want to learn more advanced knowledge. Or those who feel like it's beneath them to learn the basics, or they're too arrogant. They don't want to seem, by learning the basics or being willing to learn the basics, they don't want to seem as if they don't know something, acknowledge their lack of knowledge about certain basics. Or they're not open-minded enough to revisit the basics. Don't be from that group, because that group will suffer from some of the things that we talked about, which are the reasons why we should revisit the basics. Not having a deep understanding, not having an ability to articulate what we believe because we lack that understanding of the basics, being susceptible to doubts, having your faith wear out and you're not able to actively renew it because you're not revisiting the basics. We make ourselves susceptible to all of that because of our arrogance. And I'll close with the statement of Mujahid rahimahullah ta'ala, one of the great scholars of tafsir, one of the greatest scholars of tafsir and the student of Ibn Abbas. He said, لا يتعلم لا ينال العلم اثنان مستحي ومستكبر. He said, there are two people who will never learn anything. They'll never get better, they'll never improve, they'll never attain real knowledge. Al-Mustahi, the one who's ashamed, the one who's afraid of being called dumb, being called ignorant, having it be said, oh, you should know this. You should know this already. You should know better. They're ashamed. They're shy of that being said. One mustakbir. And the other one is the one who's arrogant, the one who's conceited, the one who considers learning these basic things beneath him or her. Don't be from that group, brothers and sisters, because we're going to meet Allah and we're going to be asked 3 basic questions. And some of us, because of our arrogance or our shyness, won't be able to answer them. Don't let that be you. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك بمحمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.